Welcome to Alex and Annie, the Real Women of Vacation Rentals. I'm Alex.
And I'm Annie.
And we are joined today for a breaking news episode with Amy Hinote of VRM Intel. Amy is back. Amy, it's so good to see you.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Could I just say, I miss a lot of people, but I have missed you dreadfully. And I want to thank you for not filing restraining orders in on me because I felt like I pared it down to a monthly test, just to text, just to see if you were okay. And it's okay that we didn't communicate much, but you were so missed. And so just to hear that you were kind of coming back and getting back in the swing of things, like it made my heart smile. Like we were just all so excited to have you back.
I appreciate that. It's been a tough year, but I'm really glad to be starting to get back in the swing of things and kind of trying to fulfill some promises, that we've all made to each other a long time ago. So, and I appreciate you checking up on me and to the other people that did. It meant a lot. If I haven't gotten back to you yet, to apologize for going off the radar. I will. But I'm sorry for just disappearing like that. And but I really, it meant a lot to me that you continue to check in to make sure I was okay.
Yeah, I don't think you should apologize for that because I think everybody sometimes needs to just kind of check out and do some soul searching and just kind of reset your boundaries and reset your mindset. And so you did some resetting. And so thankfully, the resetting seems to be done and you're back and you've got some really big announcements and things to share with us.
I do. I'm really excited about it. It's just, this has been one of the things that, and this announcement, getting to this point was a really difficult decision. But, at the end of the day, I think, we are all trying to do what's best for this industry. And I honestly think that what's coming is what's best. So I'm 100% in and really excited to announce it and see you and all of that.
Without further ado,
What is it?
What is it?
What is it? There's a couple of big things that are going to be happening later this year. Why don't you tell us what they are?
So we have decided to bring out the 5th annual Data and Revenue Management Conference and the 2023 Vacation Rental Women's Summit. They're both going to happen this year, and they're both going to happen in December, and they're both going to happen at the Omni Nashville downtown. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to do these two conferences back to back. So we're going to do the Women's Summit. We're going to kick off on Sunday afternoon with our welcome meet and greet, and then go into the Women's Summit all day Monday and all day Tuesday. So that's December 4th through the 6th at the Omni Nashville. And then as soon as the Women's Summit starts to come to a close, the Data and Revenue Management Conference kicks in. So basically how this is going to work is that when we go in for our closing keynote session at the Women's Summit, when we come back out, the vendor hall will be set up. There will be a cocktail party. There will be music and food. And it's just going to be a really joint, huge Women's Summit meets the Data Conference happy hour party. And then going into the vendor parties that night. And then the meet of the Data and Revenue Management Conference on Wednesday and Thursday. So the entire thing is from December 4th through the 8th at the Omni Nashville. The Women's Summit is from the 4th through the 6th, and the Data Conference is December 6th through the 8th.
We'll have it in the show notes.
Exactly. Really, it's a unique opportunity in a number of reasons, right? First of all, there's a lot of synergy. They're similar shows from a size standpoint. Mm-hmm. So from an AV, the rooms are set up with the same type of, we're videoing everything. We've got stage set up and all of that. But there's not a lot of overlap in these shows. So it's interesting
between attendees and suppliers.
Exactly.
Or yeah, interesting.
Between attendees on the Women's Summit and the DARM show is that so it's not like we were asking a lot of people to stay the whole time.
We're staying the whole time.
We're moving in.
The overlap is like me and you and Annie.
Exactly.
There are a few others, and they're here right now. Actually, I'm hanging out with on a retreat thing, and Sue Jones is here. She's just doing up both of them. April Burns is here. Linnell Gordon's here. So yeah, there are a few of us, largely on the vendor community. But honestly, I thought it was a good time for some people to come in early and see the Women's Summit that wouldn't
Mhm.
normally do so. And
Yeah.
for some of the women to realize that this is a great opportunity to learn more about the technology side of our business in the DARM
Absolutely.
show. And we
Yeah.
are adding an AI track into DARM this year. We've been talking a lot
Awesome.
about that over the last couple of weeks, internally, and figuring out what that looks like. But I mean, there's no way that we can cover the technology side of our industry without dealing with what's going on there. And I feel like it's going to be even way further down the road by December than it is today.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think there's just a lot of opportunity there. I think, on that party side where we close out the Women's Summit and open up DARM, that should be about 1,400, vacation rental professionals in Nashville that night. And I think that will be just a really great holiday style party that that's just really festive and a good, just a good networking time. And the quality of the attendees in both of these shows is so incredibly high.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So to bring them together, I think is going to be a really, really beautiful thing. I really do.
I love having a conference at that time right after Thanksgiving. And this is where we've talked about this before, but the very first conference that I went to of any vacation rental conference was yours in Sandestin, one of the one day events, 2016, I think.
Yeah, that
And,
was the same week.
yeah. And then the women's conference, of course, in 2021, end of 2021. And like you said, it's a great time of the year. People are in between holidays, but you're gearing up for the next year. It's the perfect time to be making those plans and, just getting things in order. And we're super excited about it. I know the women's conference was one of those events that when we got back from that, we've had probably at least 10 episodes of the podcast in early 2022 that were people that we met at that event. And in every episode we talked about like, gosh, that was just the best conference. And I think that the format really is different at that event. And I'm curious if you're going to continue it. But one of the things that what made it so different was that it was, less heavy on actual like vendors and booths, but more that the vendors were part of the sessions. Is it going to still be similar in that format?
Yeah, we're not going to start the vendor hall until what will be that party. We're going to do that in the vendor
Gotcha.
hall. But I do think that we're going to carry through the same format with the Women's Summit. And one of the things that I looked around and I've talked to a few of you guys about is that if you look at the people who were at the Women's Summit, almost everybody is in a better position today than they were a year and a half ago.
That's a really good point.
That's a huge testament, right? Like people have grown their careers, they're in better jobs, they're making more money. A lot of them even have more time too to spend with their families. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of confidence that gets built at this show. There's a lot of finding out that you can do things that you didn't believe that you could. There's a lot of mentorship that happens at this show. So, that as people, move up, they start finding people, other women below them, who are younger and newer in the industry to kind of mentor and pull up as well. So like, it's been really kind of unique to watch this community evolve over the last 5 years. And I think, there's almost like this celebratory side of it too. Like there's the motivational, inspirational side, but there's also let's celebrate what we've done, over the last few years and how much we've all grown.
To that point, I think I was thinking it comes to mind, Lauren Madewell is the one person that stands out in my mind, who that was kind of like her first like introduction to so many of us, at least for me. I almost didn't remember actually seeing her, but I met her later. But you talk about somebody who took what she did there and found her voice and she has just blossomed. And there's a lot of other people, a lot of other women that were there that had various little pieces of the conference look at what Alex and I did. You invited us to be there. We started our podcast. That was just our starting point. So we certainly thank you for giving us that opportunity. But I think just having a lot of strong women who just needed the support of one another to take that next step, that leap of faith, that jump into whatever the next thing was, it started there. And so just to have this back is really good for all of us.
And those are a lot of topics that we didn't really ever talk, or we don't ever normally talk about at vacation rental, short-term rental events are more leadership based. Like I remember Margot did a presentation about how to decide, when you're ready for a career change. And she had this whole like matrix of how you made the decision. And I remember months later, as I was, trying to figure out if I was going to take this position with Costco, reaching out to her and asking if she still had that. And she sent it to me. But those are the conversations and the presentations that you don't typically see at other events. So that was big.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think there are a couple of things that happen. I think there too, the attendees show up ready to embrace the experience, and the speakers show up ready to embrace the experience. So there's this I'm trying to think of the right word. There is a alignment, I think, that happens with the objective of this show that is special, that's outside of what you see at other events, and definitely my other events. There's just our industry is special anyway, and how generous and giving it is.
Yeah.
And it's, there's not a lot of hoarding of knowledge that goes on anymore in our industry. People do want what's best for each other and what's best for the industry. It's a lot of rebels in this industry, a lot of people who think outside the box. So there's an embracing of that concept going on too. But I just think that everyone here just kind of shows up ready to jump in, and get the most out of the experience. And it helps a lot. That festive environment you were talking about, Alex, is super interesting too. Like hotels and the cities, they all decorate before Thanksgiving. For the holidays. So, just the environment itself gets festive without even trying.
Definitely.
And so now downtown Nashville is no exception. In fact, I believe, and I don't know this for sure, but I believe the Christmas parade is the Saturday before that. And there's a home Tennessee Titans game on that Sunday.
Oh, wow.
Which is at noon. So I think that we should all think about whether or not we want to get a suite or something.
Yeah, definitely.
I like that idea.
But DARM is going to be good too. And there was a big demand for DARM.
For sure.
I was kind of surprised at how many people, really wanted that show back. It is the 5th time we've done it. And it will be our 2nd time in Nashville. And, the technology side of our industry is growing so much. Like there's so much about, where we are with revenue management. Also, we've come a really long way with data and benchmark data, and not just performance data, but like property data, homeowner data, people data. I mean, there's so much more that we have today from a benchmarking standpoint than we've ever had. There's a lot more need for marketing and distribution strategies than we've had in the past. And a lot of people are just not happy with their overall performance in 2023 so far. So I think that I think what we'll see is a real need and desire to want to learn more about pricing strategy, distribution strategy, and our technology plan, going forward. The AI thing is super interesting. And I think we're going to try to present it related to hospitality, that it doesn't replace hospitality. It doesn't replace people. And I think we're starting to see exactly. I think that we haven't really, as an industry, mastered this, whatever we're going to call digital hospitality, remote hospitality, no touch hospitality. You've heard there are all kinds of terms around now. But whatever hospitality means when you never see the person, like whatever that ends up being, then we need to do better at that.
We'll be back in just a minute after word from our premier brand sponsor, Costco.
I've done every position in this company. I mean, started from the ground up. I was done right. I just did everything. So I've done it all. Not to say that I don't still enjoy vacuuming. I love that. You get burned out a little bit and you lose your, like, I don't know if I can do this anymore.
That's Kelly Hill, Costco's franchisee from McCall, Idaho. Her company, Done Right Management, had been a leader in the market for many years, but as larger national companies started to gain ground, Kelly felt like she was losing control of the business.
I was my way out the door before Costco came. I really was. I think I was considering selling the company because I was at that point where I was getting like, maybe this isn't for me. Ryan and Steve approached me, and it was like they sang a song to me, because I was like, this is what I need. I need direction. I'm looking at the bigger companies, and I'll say, Vicasa's out there, and I admire them for a lot that they do. They have a lot of bandwidth here. They have, bulk. And so they can do things a lot cheaper, and their systems are great. And I looked at Costco as the opportunity that we needed to get there, to have some of those advantages.
We asked Kelly about the transition to becoming part of Costco and her thoughts on the benefits of becoming part of their franchise model.
We had just switched to a different PMS system that same year. So it was a real challenging year, but it was so worth it, because Streamline is just, it's the best of breed. And I love touting that. When I meet with owners, I'm like, we use Streamline software. It's the best in the industry. That's the one main thing, is that the training and the support that they've given us. They are just there. Anything we need.
Kelly's story is one that resonates with many of our franchisees. Switching software is a big decision. Costco's full-time support staff are here to help make this process significantly easier and more efficient than a regular software switch.
Ryan and Steve, they just really said, you can still do this. We're here for you. And if we have all these things in place, your company can run smoothly, and it does. And I think that, I can take off for a week, and I know I'm going to come back and everything is running as good, if not better, than when I was here. So it's great.
Visit Costco.com/franchise to hear more stories from franchisees like Kelly and inquire about territory opportunities and available markets.
Annie, you and I are pretty aligned on this. As far as the hospitality side, it's just really our big frontier right now.
Yeah.
And, it's good for the community. It's good for the destination. It's good for everybody when the guests are treated like they're VIPs.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got to increase our repeat guest rate. It's way below where it's ever been in this industry. And I think that's a concern. I imagine the CVBs are trying to work on that too. And the DMOs are really working on this, getting people back.
Yeah.
But the hotels want their business back. The hotels and the cruise lines and the all-inclusive resorts, they lost some business since 2020, and they're being pretty aggressive right now.
I think people
Are still
realize that there's
traveling.
so many more. There definitely are, and there's so many more places that people can go that they just never knew that they could go to. And so we actually just had our Myrtle Beach hospitality DMO summit a couple weeks ago, and we talked about that. I shared on stage how I get to see now multiple locations across the country in Mexico that their repeat business in a lot of destinations isn't anything close to what it is in a Myrtle Beach or a Panama City Beach or a Gulf Shores, or these, drive-to destinations that have been, historically big, true destinations for vacation rentals. But even these ones, we're still all losing that every single year. And now people being able to use different channels like an Airbnb to find things more easily. It's getting spread out much more so. And, combine that with cruises coming back, international coming back, it's just the leveling out of what tourism is going to continue to be, I think. But I'm very excited that you're having the AI track. I think that's going to be super interesting. And really, we're recording this. It's May. By December, how much is going to be different in AI? Probably a ton. It's evolving. It's so fast that we did at that conference I was at. It was me and another person, and we had to go against Chad GPT. So they asked us questions, and then they asked Chat GPT the question, and we had to compare answers to what Chad said versus what we said. And, at the end of the day, it's exactly what you just said, Amy, that AI is not going to replace humans. It's going to help smart humans do their job better and be able to keep their jobs and get into better jobs, really. But, seeing what some of the things that Microsoft has coming down the way of it's not just about being able to write quick answers or write quick blog posts. It's going to revolutionize how people run their entire way of doing business, doing presentations, doing spreadsheets, things that would historically take us all so long are going to really change. So by the time we get there in December, we might all understand it a heck of a lot more.
How much time I spent formatting charts for that magazine.
Exactly.
Alone. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, the thing is about AI though, what it could be really disruptive of are the OTAs. Especially
Yes.
in our industry,
Yeah.
because I mean, a high-powered AI is going to find the original source of the booking. I suspect that's why Brian Chesky's focused on his exclusive inventory and trying to, switch the focus back to shared spaces where they only list on Airbnb, because he needs to have that exclusive content,
Yeah.
to go forward. But like, I mean, pretty soon you'll be able to tell, to be able to ask whatever you want. Like, I want to be right on the Gulf in Fort Morgan with a screened-in
Yep.
porch and a pool downstairs and a jacuzzi bathtub and a crib. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Go find that. That eliminates that filter approach
Right.
that
Yeah.
that Vrbo and Airbnb are dependent on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you think
And it's
about
And
like we,
interesting because Expedia's test, they're going to be used, like they're all in on using it. So it'll be interesting to see, like through their network of channels, like what does it do? Like how does it,
yeah,
to your point,
and
like
how do
they
they get
don't need to
around
manage.
it?
Yeah.
Like, because they're never going to be the source of record, right? Like, so you know what I mean? If like, you're asking to find the best price for a Marriott Courtyard in Beaumont, Texas, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I think it could be incredibly disruptive for Expedia booking Airbnb. I really do. I think that exclusive content is going to be where it's at. I mean,
Yeah.
people are going to want that. The other thing I thought was interesting was kind of like from a historical perspective, like in terms of blogging and information media, things, along those lines, that it only knows what's written, and a lot of the history of our industry hasn't been written down.
right.
What I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Good
Exactly.
point.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
talk
good
about that
point.
quite a bit. Yeah.
Like if
Yeah.
you were asking Google about how our industry came to be, you might think that we just started in 2012,
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. That's a
Yeah.
great point. I mean,
I don't
just
know. I
tell
think
me
there's
that.
some people that think it started because of COVID. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's huge.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of people that entered the space and like, well, what is this new place we're in?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think there's a real opportunity to be a thought leader, where a lot of people are
Yes.
thinking about it taking away, but I think there's a real opportunity to use it to your
Yeah.
advantage.
Mhm.
But yeah, and become kind of the thought leader in your market or in
Mhm.
your area, just by using I guess it's a lot like the old SEO stuff. But
Right.
anyway, I
Yeah.
think it's super interesting. I mean, this is definitely the biggest thing since the internet. I mean,
Oh, for sure.
so there will be a lot more by December. It's really right now we're trying to find out who's on top of it,
Yeah.
who's going to be the expert in our field, in
And
that.
I think how that ties in with marketing too is going to be really important. Also, that we've seen these last couple of years, but even this year more profoundly, that people are going to Google way less to search for the typical terms: Myrtle Beach condo rentals, Panama City Beach vacation rentals. They're not going and searching the way that they used to search, and that's going to continue to become more of an issue. And how does that parlay into SEO efforts and the rest of your direct booking strategy? So I think having that direct marketing track within DARM is going to be very complementary to these segments, and why it is still so important to make sure that you are focusing on building your own audience that is on your own land and that you have access to bring back, and you're not having to worry about going to Google or worry about what AI is going to completely do.
Yeah, I think the whole customer funnel has changed,
Yeah.
or is,
Yeah.
or will by the end of this year. But you're talking about the format of the Women's Summit. Going back to that, I mean, we will have that opening party. So the hotel connects to the Country Music Hall of Fame.
Oh, wow. That's
Okay,
awesome.
nice.
So yeah, it's super convenient to have a lot to do some creative stuff. So we'll be brainstorming through that, and then we'll do the same thing. Like we'll have we're going to do a brunch. We're trying to do the high tea. We'll probably have a lot more country music than we had in New Orleans.
Okay.
And we're still in search of a theme for our first night party. For our
The 80s party was amazing.
It was
I am
so
totally in
fun.
favor of bringing that back.
The
That
80s,
was
I
amazing.
totally agree. If it's not broke, don't fix it, right?
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. That was such a fun theme.
That's awesome. So besides the women's conference and DARM, okay, well, I guess the question go back to like, when are you officially going to have it out for registration and sponsorships, and how soon do you think you'll have that out to everybody?
I'm hoping to have the tickets up by today.
Oh,
So
okay.
the website will, if everything goes well, that will happen. So that will be for the Women's Summit. It's a new URL. Long story. I lost the last one.
Oh,
During my sabbatical, I didn't my credit card expired on GoDaddy and someone
Oh,
picked
no.
it up. So yeah.
goodness.
So the new URL is the VRW Summit, like Vacation Rental Women,
Perfect. Okay.
VRWSummit.com. And then DARM is the same. It's VRDARM.com,
Okay.
VRDARM.com. And we're going to be putting out an early bird rate that will just last through the middle of June. And then we'll start going up to more towards our normal rates. And then we'll start using our own revenue management strategies.
Nice.
I love it.
So sponsorships will be available later today too. Yeah, I think that's it on the ticket side. The whole risk of events has gotten so high, since COVID. The hotels have shifted everything in their favor. So I'm really hoping that this is a good
Yeah.
thing to
Well, conference insurance, all those things. I mean, all the prices
yeah,
have
it's
gone up
ridiculous.
significantly.
Um,
Is there? Do you get is there like a deal if you go to both of them, or is it still two separate
I think
registrations?
there are going to be two separate registrations, but I think what we're going to do is do a promo code and go that route.
Okay.
I have to keep them separate
Yeah.
for financial reasons, but
Sure.
I think what we're going to do is that once you sign up for one, you get a promo code to the next one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Smart.
good idea.
And the hotel room rate. We'll also have the hotel code on the site, and it's $299 a night, which is insane for the
Really good
Omni.
price.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
Really
Wow.
good
Yeah.
price.
So that was another huge advantage of doing two
Yeah.
shows. By
Yeah.
committing to that much, they dropped the room rate $100. So it was really nice. So I'm excited about that. That hotel, our block will sell out. So I would go ahead and get rooms when you know you're coming.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think that is interesting is that teams that some people are talking about, like sending different team members to different shows so they can get big bang for their buck, but still use the promo code. And I think that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, I just think the content is just set up to be so good this year. We have so many incredible female speakers now, just in nurturing this over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And also some women who have done some really incredible things, who 5 years ago didn't even want to grab a microphone and ask a question, and now are leading companies and in high level roles and leading this industry forward. And I think especially will lead the industry forward in hospitality.
Yeah.
And get us, in the mainstream of a high level hospitality experience.
Yeah. Well, we thank you for creating this content, and I said in the beginning we missed you, and we were all fearful of what would happen by not having these two conferences. And we kind of knew the women's one would be every other year. I mean, that was kind of the intention. I know you and I had some long conversations about it last year, and but the DARM one was like, that's such an incredible conference. Like, you get so much out of it. So doing them back to back is a smart move. I think that's going to pay off for you in terms of like being able to consolidate your efforts and not be spread out. But my other question I had for you is, what else are you going to do? I mean, is VRM Intel still going to be part of our space? Are you going to do things with it? Like, what do you see the vision
from a
for the future of
magazine
that?
and website
Yeah.
perspective? Maybe tell us a little on that.
Yeah. So the magazine, the problem I had with the magazine when COVID hit was that, with supply chain and prices of paper went like through the roof.
Yeah.
Sure.
Also, shipping prices were higher. It just affected the whole cost of the publication dramatically. But then there was another problem that I had, and a lot of people started working from home, and a lot of people changed jobs. So my mailing list wasn't even valid anymore. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was almost having to start from scratch with mailing. And I honestly, as much as I love print and I'm, a believer in it, I mean, I got to say, I think we finally have hit that closing
The
door
tipping
on
point.
print.
Yeah.
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 I mean, it sucks, but it's just where we are. And the question is, what do we do with VRM Intel, right? Like, so,
Yeah.
and I really don't know. I'm still thinking through that, which is part of why I'm at a retreat right now, trying to think about that. But like the way I really feel about it is that I've noticed a void in factual reporting in this industry over the last year. And I feel almost an obligation, you know what I mean, to do it. But right now, what you read are largely opinion pieces on social media on one side, or generalized investor-led, media on
Content,
like
sure.
Business Wire, TechCrunch, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like there is a media group that is interested in the funded companies and the public companies. And you see some reporting, largely press release style reporting, or some reporting on earnings calls, from that. And then on the other side, you see a lot of opinion stuff on, on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. And I feel like having an independent media voice is important in our industry, just for sanity purposes, and checking the facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to go forward and do that. What that means is building that VRM Intel from scratch again, and bringing some investigative journalists and playing with it that way, because the industry has grown a lot from when I started doing that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm thinking about. I do think we need it. I think it's good for the industry. But it's challenging, and taking on that challenge is, I'm not going to take that lightly, I guess. It's what I want to be really intentional, so that I'm not back in another straitjacket.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean,
the
way that the world consumes media has changed so much over the years too, that it used to be that
Yeah.
you really just read magazines or just read articles online, and people watched YouTube for a lot of this information. They listen to podcasts, so you really almost have to be a complete media company to reach everybody. I mean, I had somebody say to us, Annie, I forgot if I even told you this, but they called what we do a talk show because they watch it on YouTube. So never thought of it being a talk show, but I guess, for somebody that's watching it like a TV show, that's what it is to them. But, other people that have said, I really just like reading your transcripts. So it's interesting how people are still they're going to consume media the way that they want to consume, and they might change a little bit, but it's tough to reach all the bases that way. But I do believe that you've been such a big part of how the industry has originated within the last decade, and not that it originated in the last decade, but at least the narrative of it,
evolution
for the professional side, that it has felt like there's been a little bit of a void without you, and without that, the information and the fact checking and the articles, that, we need that voice more now than ever. And, with different competing conferences and events and things like that, the conferences are great, but if you don't go to the conferences, those can't suffice to be the voice of the industry. There needs to be a voice of the industry. And I think we need to figure that out. But I'm glad that you're back. And as Andy said, like, it's needed for how we move forward.
I mean, there's no way I'm leaving this industry. You'll have to bury me out of it.
I think we just all assume the worst. We're like, she's done.
She's not coming back ever. We ran her off. What do we do now?
It was just a tough year. Just, one of the things I learned in this is, it's easy. I never lost my passion for the industry, but I lost my energy.
Yeah.
And then when life happens, which it does, you can kind of like piece it together for a while. You know what I mean? Duct tape your life for a while until the big things happen. And when the big things happen, and things like losing a spouse, losing a parent, losing a child, losing a business, bankruptcy, moving, you know what I mean? Like, just a lot of the major events that happen to all of us in this lifetime, when they happen, duct tape doesn't cut it.
Yeah. They come out.
I think I was almost too confident in my limited coping skills, and then when they fell apart, it was like I didn't have anything left.
Yeah.
And I think that if you like, my advice to younger women is that once you see these things happening, you know what I mean, and you feel that, take care of it. Like, be super selfish and take care of you along the way, because these things do happen. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? If you don't take care of you, life will come in and make that decision for you, and then
Yeah.
you'll be forced to. And it's much easier to do it on your terms than it is to do it when you're behind the eight ball.
Yeah.
I think in this case, like, it just took a lot of rebuilding time. It took a lot of rebuilding skill sets. I had gotten super angry and defensive, and I just was tired, I think, more than anything. And there's a lot of criticism in the world now.
Yeah.
It used to be like, poor me, it's just me, but it's not just me, because anyone can criticize you online. You girls know this now because
Oh,
you're
yeah.
doing this.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
people say some pretty mean things, and people love to tell you about those mean things. Why,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I don't need
Yeah.
to know.
I
Like,
know,
Yeah.
right? I like to be in my bubble, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
but I
teaches
mean,
you a
like,
lot about yourself and then also about your tribe that you're
yeah,
with. And I think, Amy, you and I, like, I mean, you saw what I went through, like with the hurricane. Alex did too, like just that and like that whole thing. Again, I had no control over it, but I had control about how I handled it.
Mhm.
And that was
exactly right.
that was a quick lesson for me to be like, okay, like let's just set back and reset and understand that like I didn't do this to myself. I didn't do this to my community. They didn't do it to me. It's something that happened, but you have to kind of like find that space, and everybody finds it in their own way, in their own time. And I know Alex and I've talked about it, and I've talked with several of your closer friends. Like, we're very grateful that you took the time to do that for yourself, and that you were selfish and found your, your balance and your space, and to heal and figure it all out, because it just makes you a better person and a better, piece of our industry that we desperately need and love and want. And so it's like, again, it's great that I hate that you went through it. I do. I know the pain that goes along with some of those things, and I hate that for you, but grateful that you were able to come out on the other side and
Yeah,
still
I
be.
think I'm much more sane. I'm much more sane. I mean, just learning some skills about distress tolerance, learning some skills about
Yeah.
how to evaluate your current situation, how everything
Mhm.
doesn't have to be a 10.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
It's
taken
okay to
some
be
time.
imperfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually very little is, and you don't grow in any times of perfection ever.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
Yeah. It's
And
very
on top
true.
of that, you don't even enjoy it that much. I thought that's what
Right.
was like,
Yeah.
your
It's
high,
overrated.
and it's like everyone says congratulations, you did a great job, and then 5 minutes later, well, that was over.
Yeah. Now it's back to
Where
square
do I
one.
go? Where do I go
Yeah.
from here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think
absolutely.
for something like the hurricane that Annie went through, it's like, anybody that had gone through something that traumatic, like a natural disaster, that tried to heal from it, you don't know if you've actually healed from something until it triggers you. So, Annie, you've told me about different things that have happened to people in the panhandle, that it's just that PTSD comes back. And
Mhm.
even if they thought that they were past it, that's always going to be a burning pain, because that was
Yep.
so traumatic. But then there's other types of pain and learning that, if you haven't learned a lesson once, it's going to keep showing up to make sure you learn
Sure
it,
you
which that's
learn
a
it.
different thing than, a natural disaster. So I think learning within yourself of like, okay, if this is something that's happened again and I'm recognizing those themes, this is something I need to take time out and address. And that sounds like what, Amy, you've been through there. And it's tough. I mean, like, we're all fighting our own battles. Annie and I talk about this quite a bit, that it's like you never know what somebody else is fighting. And people might seem successful, happy, everything, but everybody has something that they're fighting. So have to be
Yep.
kind and patient, and know that
Show
it's
grace.
always tough.
it's
Yeah.
so true. And some people have, everyone's got different values too.
Yeah.
Everyone's got different like non-negotiables. Like, I mean, for me, like brutal honesty and truth telling and communicating truth, even if it's blunt, you know what I mean, is something that
Mhm.
that I, was a value or is a value.
Yeah.
But I've been learning that, some people like keeping things even tempered and calm and peaceful. That's a real value for people.
Yeah.
And that's just an example of how two people that are similarly aligned in a lot of different ways could like butt up against each other, and not understand each other because they value two very different things. And having that, just like you said, the understanding that everyone's got something they're dealing with, and we all think differently, but
Mhm.
we all still
Yeah.
have the same core. Most of us have the same core principles about how we want to live our lives,
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think, especially in this industry, I mean, there's better alignment between the people in this industry than in most industries.
I agree.
I agree with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Mhm.
And it's just a family to me, and everybody's been so incredibly gracious during this time. I'm not going anywhere. I'm
Yeah.
loyal.
We're good.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad you're back.
Yes,
Well, this is going to be
definitely.
fun. December is going to be fun. I know there's a lot going on between now and then. We have the user conferences in September for the software systems and
Right.
VRMA in October. But this December back to back, this is going to be cool.
Yeah.
And if it works, then we may be able to add to this, you know what I mean, and really start bringing some separate disciplines to the table here. But I'm excited. The Omni's excited. The hotel has been nothing but amazing, in
Yeah,
putting
that's
this
a beautiful
together.
property.
And
Great
there's
spot.
a lot of fun stuff going on that week in Nashville, including a lot of Christmas concerts that look pretty amazing. So
Yeah.
we're going
Good
to have a
time.
good time.
Yeah.
So,
It's going to be a lot of
well,
fun.
Amy, thank you so much for being here with us today. We're excited and also honored to be able to share this news with the world. And of course, we will be there, and we'll be there early and probably stay late like we always do. So we're looking forward to
I'm
it.
going to tell you to work.
Oh, please do. Please do.
Yeah,
We-
we're looking
we-
forward to it.
We
Gotta earn
pushed
our keep.
outside of comfort zones at the last women's conference, and that was the beginning of a really big
Yeah.
thing for
Yeah.
Amy and I. So we're grateful for
Well,
it.
congratulations on all your success. I'm really happy for you guys, and really blessed to call you guys friends. I love you, and I appreciate all your support during all of this.
Mm,
Thank you.
Absolutely.
We love you too.
Couldn't imagine it being any better. But we're just adding to our arsenal of A's to take on the
Yeah,
road show here.
exactly.
Well, we will include links for people to go sign up and get more information in the show notes. If you are enjoying the show or want to watch the talk show on YouTube, please go ahead and watch over there. But in the meantime, you can also go to alexnannypodcast.com and reach out from there. Amy, what's a good way for anybody to reach you if they want to get in touch?
It's amy.hinote at vrmintel.com.
Awesome.
I'm
We'll
also
include
on
that in the show
LinkedIn,
notes too.
Facebook, and Instagram. So
Yeah, LinkedIn's the way to contact all of us, probably faster
Yeah.
than anything else
Yeah.
these days. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
all right, sounds good. Thanks you guys so much. Have a good week.